This is Curradigby Station in Wee Jasper, about an hour's drive west of Canberra. When we arrived at the historic Merino station on the shores of Lake Burrinjuck, shearing is in full swing. Curradigby Station is known for its fine wool. Up to 3,000 sheep roam the 3,000 hectare property. We stay at the immaculately renovated homestead from 1911, converted into comfortable guest quarters. The station's European history, however, goes back much further, to 1831. That was only 7 years after the explorers Hamilton Hume and William Hovell walked through this area. One of the most unique experiences on Curradigby Station has nothing to do with sheep, but much more with time travel. Hidden in tilted layers of limestone are creatures from a very distant past.
With most of this knob of rock here is actually mostly an old coral reef. But in that you find lots of different types of coral. You find little shells like this little chap, a little atropa. As well as that, you can actually see the bedding plane because all this sediment has been tipped up on about a 45-degree angle. So that the flat ocean floor, you can find little pieces of bone sticking out of the rock because the bone has been locked up in the rock. So there's 1,200 metres of sediment. It's all laid on a 45-degree angle. And each metre that you walk going from east, which is the oldest, through to the west, to the youngest, each metre represents 13,000 years of evolution.
Nearby, on the shores of Lake Burrinjuck, this unusual limestone cliff juts into the sky. It's the fossilised core of a cave long eroded. The real deal, Carey's Cave, is just a few minutes' drive away. With cave guide Jeff Kell, we go underground.
The cave was first entered in the 1800s, and there are signatures in the cave that run from the mid-1800s through. It was developed in 1968. The temperature is moderate all year round, but the most special thing about this cave is the way the water has actually carved the rock, because instead of having a river that has widened and dropped the cave down, meaning it's very deep with lots of stairs, many tunnels forming underwater have joined and given us a really fantastically sculpted roof. There is a great variety of formations. You'll see probably more formations here than a lot of caves. From stalactites and stalagmites that everybody knows, shawls, flowstones, and we have some fantastic helictite examples. It's a very inspiring space.
Just behind Wee Jasper, an unsealed road to Tumut begins the climb up into the hills. Further up, extensive pine plantations replace the bush. Before ending the day in Tumut, we take a short detour to the quaint town of Adelong and visit the historic Adelong Falls Reserve. Conservation Coordinator Louise Hazley takes us for a walk.
It is probably one of the most important remains of a gold processing site in the country. What they did here wasn't probably all that different to any other processing mill, except that they were able to use gravity to process all the ore through the mill, which was quite unusual, an opportunity that few had. The two owners, Wilson and Ritchie, were from Scotland. They knew about dry stone walls. They knew about how to build things to last, and they were engineers. So as a result of that, it's withstood the ravages of time, floods and fire.
Just 20 kilometres west of Adelong is the picturesque country town of Tumut. On its eastern outskirts, bordered by the Tumut River, is Pioneer Park. Right in the centre of this generous green space is the Tumut Labyrinth, a place of contemplation and reflection. Tumut is the gateway to the western foothills of the Snowy Mountains. This is where Batlow is situated, our next destination. We're now in apple country, and one of the growers is Ralph Wilson of Will Grow Orchard.
I like being on the land, I like growing things, I like planting a tree, watching it grow, picking the fruit, and to me that's very satisfying to look back and say, I planted that tree and look at it now. I think that's part of the attraction of being on the land for anybody. I think it's that affinity with the land and with growing things.
Ralph Wilson also produces traditional handcrafted cider that he sells at his cellar door. Further along the way, near Laurel Hill, we visit the Instagram-famous sugar pines. A walk through this part of the Bargo State Forest attracts photographers and romantics alike. Not far from here, tucked away in the picturesque hill country, is Kurabraya Wines, where Kathy Gann is creating top Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, Riesling, and award-winning sparkling wine.
And we started branding our wines back in 1999. That's when we first started making wines here, doing our own brand. And then we started getting a lot of success from about 2011 for our wines. We started winning a lot of awards, started getting into some restaurants up in Sydney, and then people were just turning up without us being open for tastings. And then we thought, oh well, we might as well build a cellar door. Oh well, we might as well start doing food. We are the coldest region on mainland Australia. Well, we have a lot of acidity, so the grapes actually ripen slower. They hold acidity and they will actually keep in the bottle longer, so they stay fresher, and they've got very good structure.
The picturesque town of Tumbarumba, just south of Kurabraya Wines, is perfect for staying the night. Leaving Tumbarumba the next morning, Paddy's River Falls, just southeast of town, is our first stop of the day. Just off the Tumut Road, the river plunges over basalt rocks 18 metres into a narrow valley, forming an impressive waterfall. Soon, bushland is once again replaced with lush paddocks and peacefully grazing cattle. Here, sweeping views of the distant main range and Kosciuszko National Park open up. In the valley below is Tuma, an historic pub on the banks of the Tumbarumba Creek. With the mountains starting to creep closer, we reach the Alpine Way that leads us up to the snowy hydro town of Canberra. Just outside of town is the dramatic spillway of the Canberra Pondage, a large water reservoir. On the banks of the lake, a stand of tall poplar displays a vivid yellow autumn colour and is creating a distinctive European feel. At the southern edge of the Canberra, the Alpine Way enters the deep forest of Kosciuszko National Park. A first glimpse of the treeless main range of the Snowy Mountains offers Semmel's Lookout along the way. In winter, these mountains are covered in snow. Another lookout is Olsen's Lookout, accessible via an unsealed side road through some of the majestic tall forests of the park. From the lookout, we have uninterrupted views into the rugged alpine world of the high mountain. At 1,580 metres high, Dettor's Gap, the Alpine Way, crosses the Great Dividing Range and then descends into the village of Thredbo. To finally see the elusive Mount Kosciuszko, we take a ride with the Kosciuszko Express chairlift up to Eagle's Nest the next day. Before heading off to the Ram's Head Range with local mountain guide Acacia Rose, we thoroughly clean our boots. This is to stop dieback caused by cinnamon fungus. Our walking route follows first the well-trodden Kosciuszko track before we head trackless up to the Ram's Head Range. For Acacia, this is one of her favourite areas in the Snowy Mountains.
Where we are now in the Ram's Head, I always refer to as a sacred space, and really beautiful rock formations. It's like a massive kids' Legoland playground, but it's a place of solitude. I come here and instantly I'm in downtime. I really enjoy the flowers here. It's an extraordinary, inspiring landscape.
Fog greets us along the Thredbo River the next morning. It's the beginning of a glorious autumn day. Still following the Alpine Way, we're now on the way to Jindabyne with its large reservoir. As part of the Snowy River scheme, the artificial lake captures the waters of the Snowy, Thredbo and Yucumbeam rivers to generate hydropower. Leaving Jindabyne behind, we're now on the eastern side of the Snowy Mountains, and our destination for today is another lake, Lake Yucumbeam. This is the largest of 16 dams that comprise the Snowy Mountain scheme. This huge lake is also a destination of pilgrimage for dedicated trout anglers. Local fishing guide Mark Fountains takes us out to the lake to some of his favourite fishing spots.
For a mainland Australia trout fishing lake, it's right up there with some of the best, without a doubt. And it's plenty big enough, plenty of room for people. I've heard of them being caught up to 16 pound, but if you can get a fish anywhere to sort of 2 or 3 kilo, that's a nice size fish for this lake. It's just a nice spot to be, you know, to be right on the water, and most days of the week it's good.
Through thick morning fog, we drive towards the Murrumbidgee River. Then we head for the last hurdle on this circumnavigation of Mount Kosciuszko, Namadgi National Park. With a border to the Australian Capital Territory, we reach the park, and picturesque Brayshaw's Hut is our first stop. Our route now follows the unsealed Bobignon Road that runs through the eastern part of the Mountains National Park. One of the most exhilarating short walks on this section of the park heads up to the Burumba Rocks. The track leads gently upwards through tall forest. Only a small warning sign further up gives us a clue of things to come. Then the ground falls away and we stand at the edge of breathtaking granite cliffs. On clear days, Canberra can be seen from here. Just outside the park, already in the rural outskirts of the capital, we cross the Murrumbidgee River once more. Then the circle closes.